I've been following Pakistan for many number of years. In one word, I've never seen it this bad. There's a multiplicity of crises. And topping it all up, let me begin from the top.
Sure.
Topping it all up is a crisis of leadership. I have not seen the lack of understanding or the lack of vision and even a lack of courage for the leadership, civil or military, to understand the problem, to know what needs to be done, and to have the courage to do it. They're all kicking the can down the road. Let my time somehow or the other pass and let somebody else handle it. Wait for the next elections, wait for the next army chief, let me get an extension, then we'll see. So that is the fundamental crisis, and everything else seems to flow from this. Lack of leadership, lack of vision, lack of understanding, lack of courage. And then if you come down to the specifics, there is an obvious security crisis, both in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and in Balochistan. I suspect Sindh is going to go down that same route, but for a different reason, not for separatism, but of the issue of water. We will come to that a little later.
Of course.
And if you see the statistics, the Global Terrorism Index, which came out a week ago, 10 days ago, where Pakistan is number 2 on the countries affected by terrorism. Then you see the report of Pakistani think tanks. Like last month, there were 121 fatalities due to terrorism. And more than 50% of them were of security forces. So every day, for example, last week, there was the killing in the bomb explosion in Haqqaniya Madrasa, Shakora Khatak. There was an attack on Bannu, a major attack on Bannu. There was a female suicide bomber in Kalat. And then there's an open warfare almost with Afghanistan and Turkam.
Yeah.
This is all happening in a week's time.
Exactly.
So, both in KPK and Balochistan, the security is really, really bad. And the army doesn't seem to know what to do. And either they have lost the capacity or the capability or even the will to do anything about it.
Right.
So there's a security crisis. Then you have a political crisis where two sets of politicians are not willing to be in the same room, let alone talk.
Right.
So Imran Khan doesn't want to talk to the
sheriffs
of the government. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, I only talk to the real powers, by which he means the army. The army says we are not involved. So it's a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
But the focus of attention and the political capital being wasted in trying to work out some sort of a modus vivendi, time gets taken for that. And there is no governance.
Right.
As a result of this, there is no governance. So there is a political crisis.
Right.
Every now and then there is a judicial crisis. Now the judiciary has been totally emasculated after the 26th Amendment, where you have got a constitutional court with a pliable Chief Justice, which will take care of all the tricky issues. And the main Chief Justice of the main Supreme Court is handling tertiary cases. Then you have an economic crisis. I won't go into the details, but the basic fact about Pakistan is, to put it in very simple terms, it consumes more than it produces. Therefore, it has to import.
Right.
To pay for imports, it needs foreign exchange, which comes through two means, which is foreign remittances and exports.
Right.
Exports are declined. Foreign remittances go up and down depending on
The dollars
the
price.
circumstances. So there's a current account deficit. You squeeze the current account deficit by squeezing imports, you don't have enough material for your exports. You don't have customs duty, so revenue falls.
Again,
So, it's a vicious cycle. And they are dependent all the time on the IMF bailouts. IMF is really like a ventilator in a last resort to sort of, they're currently, I think, on the 27th or 28th IMF bailout. And they got $7 billion. And an IMF review team is in Pakistan as we speak to carry out the first quarterly review and give them a further tranche of $1 billion. And despite Pakistan not meeting what it was supposed to do, even in terms of disclosures, I think they will get a
Another bailout.
They will get this 1 billion tranche because they just handed over Sharifullah to the US. So, the quid pro quo,
Correct.
they'll probably get that. The IMF will say many nasty things, but in the end,
Right.
they will bail out. So that's the economic crisis. So you have a serious political crisis, you have a security crisis, you have an economic crisis, and there was second was Sindh. There's a looming water crisis. I've written about this
Yes.
in my first book. There was, to go into some details, the last water, which you have to give for the wheat crop, there would be a 30 to 40% shortage of water.
Really? Okay.
So the crop which is maturing, large portion of that will not get water because the dams, Tarbela and Mangla, have hit dead levels. Dead level means no outflow, is possible.
Right.
And because of lack of rains and this critical period, they're dependent on irrigation through the dams, which have reached dead levels. So which means less wheat, they'll have to import wheat. Already last year, I think they were planning to import 3 million tons. The population is expected to reach 350 million in about 20 years' time.
Right.
Today at 240 million, they are importing 3 million tons of wheat.
So imagine what happens.
Yeah. And the problem which I mentioned between Sindh and Punjab, the army wants what they call the Green Pakistan Initiative.
Right.
The Cholistan Desert is one big chunk of land which is available. The army has been eyeing it for a long time. But that needs to be irrigated.
Right.
So they plan to irrigate 1.2 million acres of that desert by getting 6 canals out of the Indus.
Okay.
The Indus is already very badly
Overexploited, I suppose.
Yeah, So south of a place called Kotri, there is not enough water to keep sea intrusion out.
Okay.
So the sea has intruded about 100 kilometers inland.
Really?
So 2 districts of Pakistan, that is Badin and Thatta, are almost saline because of the seawater intrusion. The mangroves are almost 1/3 have been destroyed because of no fresh water coming in.
Right.
You pull out 6 more canals from the Indus upstream.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen to Sindh?
Correct.
So every day there are protests in Sindh today.
Oh.
Every day.
Okay.
That we will not allow this, we will not allow this. But if the army, cussed as it is, goes through with it, then you can imagine Sindh is going to be up in arms. So a province which is quiet at the moment, deliberately is being provoked.
And there could be separatist tendencies there.
Even though so long as the PPP is in power,
Right.
nothing like that would happen. But it could certainly lead to violence.